Now, let's talk about the Olympic boxing scandal involving two males with XY chromosomes who are being allowed to punch on with real women at the Paris Games. It hasn't escaped your attention this week. You wrote in the New York Post about the IOC's failures and how young women who have worked tirelessly to reach the pinnacle of their sport are having their dreams dashed. And Douglas, whether it's by men who transition, like Leah Thomas, or in the case of these two boxers, males with the XY chromosomes who, due to having disorders in sex development, were raised as girls, were observed to be girls when they were born, it looks like, in these two cases. In either circumstance, it's just grossly unfair for real women. There are differences between men and women. That's why we have two separate categories. And if someone has an XY chromosome, they should not, in my mind, be allowed anywhere near a women's competition.
No, and it's just extraordinary that we've got here. I mean, it's more than I think it's 11
Mm.
years now since Joe Rogan identified this problem in MMA fighting, where a man who transitioned into being a woman and who was in the U.S. Navy, and then, by the way, worked as a trucker to save up money for the sex change operation, went into female MMA fighting and was just, punching the hell out of the women that he was competing against. And that's 11 years ago since that scandal blew up. And all of this is so connected, isn't it, Rita? Either there's the reality and you accept it, or you're made to just go along with something that is just unsustainable. It is not sustainable for men to be put in a ring with women in boxing competitions and not be expected to beat the hell out of the woman in question. And then obviously any sane person would say, aren't we against men beating up women for sport or anything else? And the answer is yes, except apparently at the Olympic Games. And this is just the sort of thing that deranges a society. About the only laugh I've got this week was when, notice that I think it was in the pole vaulting that there was a gentleman whose how can I say this politely, whose member was somewhat large
Oh,
and
yeah.
not tucked in, and caused a certain problem for him, and much amusement for others. But I was pleased to see yesterday a cartoon of somebody reporting this, and the man's wife says, "But is that the men's pole vaulting or the women's pole vaulting?" Only only in the Olympics in 2024 would you have to ask that question. The whole thing is absurd. And I do hope the IOC looks at this again. It's totally unfair. Anyone, I mean, I know, again, we're not meant to mention anything that's in front of our eyes, but anyone who knows anything about male
Mm.
and female development knows that even if you go onto some kind of hormone drug at some stage, if you've gone through development as a teenager, as a man, you're going to have larger hands, larger shoulders. You're going to have a different bone density. You're going to have much more strength, all sorts of things. And it's just a fact. So I suppose
Mm.
decent people have to decide, do we actually want to encourage a delusion to to rule over everything, or can we just get some sanity back?